So, good morning, everybody. So, I'm Marcio Weichert, the program manager of DWIH, the German Center for Research and Innovation. I'm very proud to be starting here this event, the Young Innovators Week Brazil 2022, that we are organizing together with AUSPIN, the innovation agency of the University of São Paulo. I don't have a speech, so I wanted to invite directly our directors that they will welcome you with their greetings. First, Professor Catalani. Luiz Catalani is director of AUSPIN and will welcome you in name of the University of São Paulo.
Thank you, Marcio. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all. This is really a great opportunity that was given by DWIH to choose University of São Paulo to host this first. I think it's the first edition of this event, and I guess the idea is that DWIH is presenting similar events throughout the world, and it's really an honor for us, for the University of São Paulo, to be the host of the first one. We'll make history here. So I understand half of you are from Germany and half are from Brazil. And so I expect this week to be a very great opportunity to you guys to mix, to meet each other, to learn from each other. I was just talking about some years ago, many years, like 40 years ago. I finished my PhD, and 1 week later I was landing in Frankfurt for almost 2 years of a postdoc in Germany. And then I went to a second postdoc and so forth. And I guess what really made an impact in my career was to be able to get in contact with different people, different way of thinking, different approach, different challenge, and I guess that's what we are trying to offer you here, right? So that these two different people from across the Atlantic can meet and can try to learn from each other. So I cannot be here with you this week. I'll be close by, but I want to. Okay. Actually, as a teacher, I really don't like to use this. I usually don't get along very well with microphones, so. Okay. So I'll be around, and I'll be trying to support you in all you need. And my advice from the two teams is that you really mingle, to try to get to know each other, try to understand the pains, as the corporate word now is the pain of everyone, and how you can proceed with that. So this is going to be a great week, I guess. So that's it, and I'll be coming by probably tomorrow, I guess, by your schedule. I'll be back and talk to you tomorrow morning. Okay? So again, welcome. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much. So now I want to invite our director of DWIH São Paulo and from DAAD in Brazil. And I forgot to put it in silence mode. But now. Okay.
I think it should even work without microphone, and it's like my colleague possibly I don't like to speak to students or to colleagues with microphone, and I think the microphone doesn't like me when Hi there. So I'm Jochen Hellmann, representing DAAD in Brazil, and I'm as well director of the DWIH here in São Paulo. My colleague Marcio is in charge of the day-to-day business of DWIH, and of course we both are extremely glad to have you here, all of you, the Brazilian colleagues and the Germans. Of course the Germans have traveled a lot, and I think that it was very clear for you. Last night you could recognize and acknowledge that you're now in a tropical country. You know, the temperature was made it clear. But that is only one of the surprises. If Germans the first time come to Brazil, you will certainly discover other things you didn't know about Brazil, which is a country I think is extremely worthwhile to know. And I can only advise all of you. I'm now addressing myself to the German colleagues, of course, especially, that Brazil is really the country to be for you. This is an extremely great country with friendly people, with a lot of possibilities, with markets and with science, which is really absolutely good partner for German laboratories and research groups, and I think it was a good idea to come here. Most of you will perhaps, after spending only a couple of days or a week or so in Brazil, will later come back, and it would be, may I say that, not a bad idea to learn some Portuguese, because this is, you already observed that, a Portuguese-speaking country, and many students are not very, let's say, familiar with other languages. This is not a sign of less education, or not. This is a big country. We do not know that in Europe. We don't have a realm or a space of so many people and so much place where only one language is dominant. We have in Europe the good luck or the bad luck, depends from the point of view, from your point of view, that every 100 or 200 kilometers or so another language is spoken. That means that even little children have already had the experience of foreign languages which are spoken in their own school, because many people, migrants and so on, are in every country. So to be polylinguistic or multilinguistic is an experience every European has early on in his or her life, and Brazilians do not share that experience. Here, if you're in São Paulo, you have to, if you go to the northern states of Brazil, you can travel 5 hours by plane, and you are still traveling over Portuguese-speaking country, yeah? And so you must be a very traveled person to have been in a place where not only Portuguese is spoken. So I say that my German colleagues can understand that sometimes the foreign language teaching is not the level we are perhaps accustomed to in Europe. But on the scientific level, you will be surprised how brilliant many of our Brazilian colleagues are, how high the level of scientific understanding is developed, and that there is a lot of chances to meet people you can learn something from. Especially we are here, and I should say that my colleague here from USP was perhaps too modest to underline this point, but we are here in the best university of Latin America. I say that in this open and frank way, because I'm not from USP and I can do compliments without being unmodest. And so I say this is the best one here. Even other universities in Brazil are also very good. It is not the only one. Yeah, even if USP, where we are now it's the number one in Latin America. It's only one of a couple of several universities in Brazil ranking quite high in the Latin American rankings, and even in the international rankings. So I think that this will be extremely great to meet each other, and of course the Brazilian colleagues, I should not forget. You, of course, you know all that what I said, so it was a little bit addressed to the Germans, but the Brazilians, I think, will also appreciate to have the possibility to come into close contact with German colleagues in the next couple of days, and will certainly benefit from the possibility to really manage and match cooperations which could be in the long run extremely fruitful for all of us. So thank you very much for being here, and I wish all of us a week of nice experiences and rich and fruitful discussions. And thanks to the USP for their hospitality and for the partnership we have with organizing together this event today. Thank you, Marcio.
Now we will go to the part of the opening of the work. So first I want to say some words about the goals of this meeting. So this meeting is really the every first Young Innovators Week from DAAD, from the campaign Research in Germany, and from the DWIH network worldwide. The next one will be in August in New Delhi. And the goal is to bring, so we are speaking from Brazil, so to bring German students, master students, PhD students abroad that are planning or already engaged in entrepreneurship to know other countries, other markets, other research systems, innovation systems, aiming the internationalization of their entrepreneurship plans. And so the program of our Innovators Week was planned with this goal. But with the partnership with USP, then we have you here from USP, students as well, and we think the program as we develop it fits to you as well. In some points we introduced then speakers from Germany that should talk about the innovation system in Germany as well, to give you overview about the possibilities of entrepreneurship in German as well, and that fits to you from German as well. So I think it's good, the program is good for all of you. It was not possible to do everything what we planned, but I think we have a very good program in this week. I wanted to invite Daniela now, but she went out. So Daniela should explain more about our program and give more details and the last information for you.
Thank you, Marcio. Welcome, everyone. I'm very happy to have you all here. Well, about this program, we will have a week full of very interesting presentations. Today, first, we will talk about the German-Brazilian relations and Brazil as a market. And in the afternoon, you will meet representatives of some big companies and also startup to talk to you directly. I think that's a very great opportunity for everyone that is here. Tomorrow we will have more the science and research part of the program, and in the afternoon we will visit a technology center and research center. And on Wednesday we will have a presentation of our Startups Connected program, of the Falling Walls program, and the Young Innovators Week is some program in between these two, because the Falling Walls program is more for the ideas and the Startups Connected is for already working startups. And you are somehow making the step to it. And we think that's pretty good for you to get to know more about that. And in the afternoon we will go to the Innovation Center Onono. And on Thursday we will have presentations on possibilities of financing and some help for who is getting into the startup scene. And also you will have a little pitch training. Yes, Tuesday, I forgot. We will have the intercultural part. I think that will be very interesting too, with some activities you can make with that. Spending will do that. And on Friday we will have your pitches and some presentations of people who are representing institutions who also make and work with finance, and they will give you a feedback on your presentations. So we will have a full week. And I have something more. Research in Germany opened the opportunity, as we brought the German people to Brazil now, that one of the Brazilian participants will be chosen by them after the pitches to go to the Innovation Week of DAAD in November to Germany. So I wish you all the best, and I think that's something more. It's nice to be here and participate in this week, but one of you will also have the opportunity to get to Germany in November. Okay? Thank you very much, and I wish you a nice day and a nice week. Thank you.
I think you could do ahead. So, but now we will go to the elevator pitch, or there are more informed now. We go to elevator pitch now. And I want to invite Gisela. Gisela will organize here this part of the program. Gisela is from AUSPIN as well.
Thank you. Hello everybody, my name is Gisela. I'm from AUSPIN, the innovation agency from University of São Paulo. And hello, hi, oi for everybody. So today, I guess you guys received the instructions for the elevator pitch, right? So I want everybody to come over here on this stage. And how it's going to work, you guys have a line over here, and you're going to have 1 minute, each other of you guys to make whatever, to do the elevator pitch, okay? So come over everybody. I need one from each idea or startup, okay? Not like the two business. Okay, so if you want the microphone, you can work with it. If you don't, it's okay. So you can line up like one side by side. There you go. Come over here. Yeah, scooch a little bit.
Can I hide there?
Yeah, no, please don't. Okay, so everybody. So how's it going to work? I'm gonna have my phone with 1 minute each. So as soon as it beeps, you gotta pass it on. Okay, so it's exactly 1 minute. Okay, and if you guys need any help, if the microphone doesn't work, just be ready to help you, everybody, okay?
I will go without the microphone if I can.
Okay.
And you can take the mask off for
Yes, I guess like everybody can take the mask over here.
Who's speaking?
Yeah, who's speaking?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait for the, like you put the mask and whatever. Okay, so I'm gonna start with you.
Without
Oh,
microphone?
no? Okay.
No mask.
There you go. Just 1 second.
Yeah.
So, there you go.
So good morning everyone, my name is Ivan. I'm an agronomist and I'm also like a soybean farmer in south of Brazil. So just imagine that we have 40 million hectares of soybeans in this country, and every year, every crop season, the farmers need to decide which kind of variety they will sow in their fields. How do they do that? What do they decide upon? So we have like very nice tech now with the digital ag solutions, but they just rely on past data and old data. So with the genomic analytics, we aim to bring actually the genetics background of the crops into the play and aggregate that information as an add-on for all the ag solution to the platform that are work in the digital ag space nowadays. And we are here to find people to collaborate, to bring like that to life.
You want the microphone? No, it's okay.
Okay. Hi, my name is Charlotte and I'm a project engineer at Ritek, and at Ritek we are developing a PET depolymerization technology called Revolpet, which breaks down the PET polymers into monomers, and the monomers are called terephthalic acid and ethylene glycol, so you don't have to remember the names, but these are the chemicals from which PET is made. And by getting back the monomers, we are able to produce a new PET and so close the material cycle. And so why do we develop such a process? Until today, over 90% of the PET contained waste cannot be recycled, it has to be incinerated. And to come to my ask, we now want to implement our technology in a pilot plant and seeking funding for over 3 million euros. And to improve our technology, we launched the Revolpet research project in our partner country, Brazil, where there is a great need for recycling technologies as well as sorting and collecting structures. There you go.
Either way is fun.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Thomas of the engineers. Part of the challenge of good preventative healthcare is having access to the care itself and also access to the data to know what you're doing. So if you think about how healthcare works normally, we go to the doctor, we get information, they write it down, and hopefully you do something with it. Part of what I'm doing is trying to bring that process to you so that you can take a Fitbit-like device or something like this to monitor more diseases or more things for screening. So in particular, we're developing a tool for early diagnosis of ear infections in children that allows you to monitor the outcome of any treatments. And so what we're seeking is some mixture of things. We're looking for clinical partners who can give us access to the Brazilian market, people who understand the Brazilian healthcare system, who can show us how billing works, how reimbursement works, but then also some expertise in microelectronics design, because part of what we need is to package things in a small product that fits into a child's ear.
Hello, I'm Victoria. I'm a pharmacy student at USP, and I'm here to talk about the children's health. All around the world has been notified a growth in the number of abused children, and prediction says that will be 206 million children in obesity by 2025, which will probably turn into no communicable chronic diseases in years front. So, Best Friend Food proposes an integrated program for schools. And the objective of BFF is to promote the children's desire to eat real food by an education approach with cartoons and incorporate a better physical education program to stimulate all the children to participate. So BFF looks to develop a obesity prevention model in a funny way. for a future healthy life, not for a weight loss, a moment weight loss. You want it?
I might need one because my voice is not.
It's okay. There you go.
I'll just take it.
Okay, thank you. If you want, you can leave it here as soon as you're done, so you can have it.
Yeah, that's very
come over.
Okay.
Hi everyone, I'm Julia from Cologne. I studied software development and worked as a freelance web developer for about 3 years. And currently I'm a research associate at the University of Cologne for working on the solution for a startup, AnimateMe. And AnimateMe is an AI-powered platform which helps businesses create videos with AI speakers through text input, without the pain of traditional video production, which is extremely time-consuming, complex, and costly for companies. So basically, the lip movements of the AI speakers will be adjusted to the text input. Companies can create different kinds of videos with AnimateMe, for example, for marketing, sales, but also for corporate training. And we are looking for a pre-seed investment of about 2 million euros. And I'm here to look for potential customers and also make investors.
Hello, good morning. Myself is Theuer, and I'm a co-founder of Aerosol Solar Cells at the University of Stuttgart, Germany. So we are working on flexible, printable, and semi-transparent perovskite solar cells. So basically, it's an ideal solar cell technology for the building integrated photovoltaics. And the good thing is that it can work in all weather conditions. That means like in dark winter, or which is not very sunny, and to very summer weather. And the good thing is that it can be recycled very easily as compared to the present existing silicon solar cell photovoltaics. So you can take it out and dissolve in some chemicals, and then you take out the ingredients. And basically we are in our seeding stage, and we are looking for 5 million euros of funding agencies. Thank you very much.
Hello, good morning everyone. My name is Dana Pitrala. I'm a cognitive psychologist and co-founder of the social tech startup Paged. Paged enables digital inclusion. We are a startup that tackles the problem of missing web accessibility, because a lot of people with, for instance, visual impairments, they have problems accessing online content. And we offer a software that can be integrated on websites and therefore enables web accessibility. We are a B2B startup, so we are here in Brazil looking for customers for Brazilian companies, but also for German companies working in Brazil. And yeah, we are looking for new customers and looking for international partners. Thank you very much.
October 4th, 2021. Billions of people were left unable to be connected in the biggest social network in the world. That day was known as the Facebook outage. Yet these same people still search many ways to solve that problem. But what I feel know is that this problem of a communication outage happens daily in the lives of more than 400 million people just because they're deaf. And that's why Timm is here. That's why I, Rafael Zini, as a UPG sustainable leader, I'm here to present this startup. We can translate the sound in cell phone application and Android to vibrations. And we are looking for partners to raise awareness in the world about this solution and this problem. Because we're here to change the world through the new words we created, the Timm.
Ice cream doesn't used to be very healthy, but Refruta is going to change this reality. My name is Lydia, and with other 4 USP colleagues, we developed a new product concept that unites health and sustainability to deliver a solution that is beneficial to for both our bodies and the environment. We call it healthy snacks on a stick, a popsicle with nutritional functionality, made and packed with materials from sustainable sources, especially Brazilian superfoods. We established a strategic partnership with a factory and have already developed prototypes. For this week, we aim to share and validate our plans and develop a broader network that will help us on our journey. We appreciate the opportunity and wish a sweet week for us all. Thanks.
I'm Sina Tönges from the German Cancer Research Center, and I used to work with a self-cloning, all-female freshwater crayfish called the marble crayfish. And during my studies, I collected them in the night at the lakes, and I thought, well, I mean, they are nice for research, but we can eat them, and why we do not do this? I mean, we can cope with the nutritional problems which we have to get proteins on a sustainable basis. So our idea is to use this crayfish for getting nutritional proteins, but also use all the other parts of the crayfish, for example, to extract chitin, which is a polymer which can be used for the biodegradable plastics. So would you eat the raw crayfish and drink a cocktail with the straws made of them? So it's super reused animal, and we would like to search for partners to scale the production of these female cloning crayfish, and hope to reuse the animal in total.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lucas. I'm a PhD student here at USP, and I'm working with diagnosis of diseases. Every disease has something common. It changes the host's, the individual's proteins. It changes how the proteins are produced and their quantities. So what our group does is that we take this information about protein change and we train machine learning models to predict if a person will have a certain disease or not. We've been doing that for the past 2 years for COVID-19 and cancer, but now we are moving to malaria. We are aiming to build a model that will take the information about the host proteins and train machine learning model to predict and if a patient will be infected, if a patient has is infected with malaria or not. This technique is fast, low cost, and can be reproducible to any other disease that involves protein changes and biofluids.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Peter. I'm a student of USP. The purpose of Games Motion is to convert the mechanical energy of movements in electrical energy, which will be to use a charge mobiles, cell telephone, notebook, tablet. There is wide adverse market of professionals who move a lot of physical and do not have ability to carry. Doctors, nurses, people in general.
Hello, my name is Isabella and I'm a software developer, so is my partner Gabriel. We're currently developing the startup journey, which focuses on solving the problem of making traveling easier for the practical and cautious travelers that always focus on cost benefits. And through a traveling app that centralizes all the important data you need for your trip, and it has 3 main focuses. That's enabling your trip financially and respecting your budget, providing customized itineraries to make planning less stressful, and helping create social media content. We are currently in the app developing phase and also strengthening the company organizationally. That's why we're looking for intellectual capital, mentoring, and new members.
So congrats everybody. We all know it's quite really hard to be over there. Okay, so now I invite back Marcio to the stage. Thank you guys.
Very nice.
Thank you.
So, then it's my turn here to present you who we are as DWIH. Maybe it's we should present the other colleagues here in the room. We can start then with Christian.
Good morning.
Who are you?
I'm the representative of the University of Linke here in São Paulo.
Okay. Sören?
Yeah, hi, my name is Jochen, and I do the same as Christian does, but for the Technical University of Munich. And we also cover maybe Latin America, so other Latin American countries as well. So glad that you are all here in this experiment. If you have any questions regarding to research cooperation between Germany and Brazil, you can also come to us and to our nice colleagues Jochen and Marcio.
Okay, and Sören is also the head of our board, yeah, from our supporters. I think here, you.
Hi.
Who are you? Yes.
Hello.
It's not a picture, or only the picture. So.
Hello, my name is Victor. I'm not from USP. I'm co-founder of the Timm, the startup that Rafael presents here, and I'm a software engineer. Yeah. So I'm the developer from this project that I love. So thank you.
Can you give the microphone to Pamela?
Hello. Hello, my name is Pamela. I work in the communication of the DWIH São Paulo. I'm here to help you. So any question you have, you can come to me.
And Rafael, the last one.
Hello, my name is Rafael. I work as a journalist for the DWIH, and I'm here hearing and writing everything about you.
He will write some reports, news for our media. So, thank you. And about the pitches that you did today, so we are waiting that you on Friday we will pitch longer than today to present your proposal of startup. And on Friday, after all these presentations of the week, we expect that you, for example, the German ones, that you give a point of view what with Brazil, so that you have Brazil as reference, how Brazil fits to your plan. And for the Brazilian ones, we expect that you can speak some words about the perspective of goes to Europe, to Germany, and so on. I hope that the presentations that we have in the week will give you some inputs for that. So I will present then our DWIH, the German Center for Research and Innovation. This year is I don't know if someone is controlling my time. I will control myself. How many time I have? 10 or 15? I don't know. 15. Okay. So, what is it? What happens? So, this is a very special year for us. Our DWIH is celebrating. So, our DWIH is celebrating 10 years of its inauguration, 2012, in February. And yes, and the DWIH is part of the DAAD, the German Academic Exchange Service. So the DAAD has many networks of the Außenstelle, so the regional offices of information centers, and the DWIH, this is the newest one. We are 10 years old now. Then the next. So you can see here our network. We have also the DWIH in the United States, 2 ones. San Francisco was already inaugurated in April. And we have in Moscow, New Delhi and Tokyo. And our head office is in Bonn, at the DAAD. Next one. So each DWIH has their own supporters, Unterstützer in German, and we translate it to cooperadores in Portuguese. So these are the organizations that are linked to the DWIH and they cooperate with the country. We are very proud that São Paulo has the highest number of supporters in the network. You can see from many kind of organizations. The next one. We divide the supporter, or classificate, not divide, we classificate the supporters in two groups, the full supporters and the associate supporters. The full supporters are that ones with own representatives in the country. So this, all of these organizations have representatives here in Brazil. So DAAD is DAAD, DFG, and Humboldt. These three are funding agencies. I will not explain what each one do, but if you have questions, we can answer later. We have 4 universities, the Freie Universität Berlin, Christian is here, the Technical University Munich, student is here, the colleague from the University of Münster is on vacation, and University Potsdam as well. The colleague is not here directly in São Paulo, but in Campinas. He has an office there. So Fraunhofer is the largest organization for applied science, applied research in Europe. They have very strong work in Brazil. GAST is an organization of preparing of tools and tests in order to select candidates for universities in Germany, but they have preparing programs and so on. GIZ or GIZ, so it's an organization for technical cooperation with developing countries, and they have a very strong link to research because this organization it works in order to implement new technologies and knowledge from research centers in these countries, for example. Next one. So we have associated supporters. These are the organizations that don't have own representatives in Brazil or in the other countries, but they are linked to us. So here are universities, the next one, main universities. So 2 representations of states, Bavaria and Baden-Württemberg, and 3 others non-investory research organizations, Max Planck, Leibniz, and IEF for industrial research. Next one. And our objectives. We have these 4 objectives. So we do, I start from the end. So visibility. So we do marketing for Germany as land of ideas, as a country with innovation, with science, very strong. And we give you information about about Germany, how to study, to research, to cooperate, to innovate, to entrepreneur in Germany, and so on. But not only, it's not a not one-way street, but it's twice so. For the German people, for German students, researchers, we inform, advise about Brazil as well. Then, I'm not fishing. Vamos lá. Yes. So, and we focus in knowledge exchange and networking, especially on events. So knowledge, so we generate knowledge about the science and innovation systems of both country and give information about them, but we promote as well scientific knowledge exchange in our initiatives. And we promote the networking between young innovators, researchers, institutions, and so on. And next. So, and how we do it, so we have our work in our office, and we do marketing over our medium, but especially we use events as place to bring researchers, students, institutional representatives together in order to exchange knowledge, experiences, and so on, and to put them together to generate new research projects. Next. So here our calendar of this year. I will not explain or talk about all of our events, but you can see how diverse our program is, not only about the kind of event. So we have competition, we have information events, we have scientific events, events with industry, with companies, so many. We are now at the end of May with our Young Innovators Week. The next one. So here from the next month. And yes, we will talk about startups connected, falling walls. We will have a EdTech hackathon as well. So Sören and Christian are organizing that with the other colleagues from our supporters. And next one. And we will close the year with the German-Brazilian Dialogue on Science, Research and Innovation. This year the topic will be sustainable innovation, and it will be the stage as well for the celebration of the 50 years DAAD in Brazil and 10 years DWIH as well. Next. Yes, I'm finishing. So, and here how you can follow us, what we are doing. You can be informed about the next events and funding programs, opportunities, and so on. Our newsletter, we have a monthly newsletter only with opportunities and events, and the other one that is a quarterly newsletter with news as well from us and from our supporters. Yes, and you can find also, so LinkedIn, we post there in English, Twitter in Portuguese, and YouTube you will find our videos. I think the videos that we are doing here from this week, we will post there in the next days as well. Facebook, we stay there, but we don't see a longer perspective to stay in Facebook anymore. So we are, how I say, desembarcando, going out of Facebook. Yes, I think that was, no? Okay, thank you, Pamela. Daniela wants to speak something. And Thomas, you are very welcome.
Later. Let's have coffee
after the coffee break. You are very welcome.
Did you have the experience that when you rent a car and they don't have the car, although it was a very nice car, you sometimes get an upgrade for that? So that's what we got today, because we had a speaker invited from the consulate and she didn't come. Unfortunately, she's ill, but now we got the general counsel to speak to us, so we can have some coffee and talk to each other there, and then he's giving his speech to you. Thank you very much, Schmitt. Okay, thanks.
So I want then start giving the microphone has Thomas already. So and he can talk about Brazil and Germany and the relationship.
Well, I will. First to mention one thing, you have almost all the institutions assembled here that represent German, I would say, interests. What is missing is the Goethe Institute. You should know, of course, there is a very strong Goethe Institute here. The German schools are missing. This is a side. This is a, well, it's the mask, yeah? I could try it like this, yeah. I'll do it like this. We have German schools here. Actually, the largest German school in the world is in São Paulo. Depending on whether you count the kids in the creche, in kindergarten, you come to 9,000 or 10,000 kids. There are 90 in the last year now. I'll say that in German, 90 Abiturienten. That is quite a lot even for a medium-sized German town. So that is us, yeah, the ones that are here and the ones that are missing. Myself, I have been 4 years now here in Brazil, 2 years here, 2 years in Porto Alegre before that. Before that in other countries in Latin America, Mexico and Lima. And before that I had another 3 years in São Paulo and a couple of years on the Balkans. So about 30 years in the Foreign Office, which is quite a while, but I still like it. I apologize for being here. Yeah, it was not planned. I skipped another meeting because I find important what you are doing here. The problem is that the younger colleague that was supposed to be with you, she fell sick this morning. We hope it's not COVID. We have no idea what it is, but she doesn't feel well. I always find it a little bit difficult to speak to such a diverse group. Yeah, half of you Brazilians, half of you are Germans, and because there's always the danger that half of you are going to be bored by what I say because you know it already. So I will try to keep a balance in that. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But in order not to make it too bad, I will try not to speak too long. What I will do is, because I have to go in the end, yeah, I'll take questions, because then I can be a little bit more focused on your interests. So the request kind of was to talk about German-Brazilian relations. And coming here, I was thinking, what are the milestones that should be mentioned in that? I'll start with the very first one. The first German that was here came around exactly in 1548. A very interesting stories. Hans Staden is his name, from northern Hessen, the region of Kassel. If ever you have nothing to do, get his book, it's reprinted. He came here as a soldier, went through incredible stories, jumped out of... he was caught by cannibals, yeah, he was supposed to be eaten up. The cannibals didn't eat him up because he looked different, lighter. Instead of that, they ate up the Portuguese that were caught at the same time. He escaped with the help of a Frenchman, and that was the first German contact with Brazil. And luckily, this person wrote a book in the middle of the 16th century. Fascinating. So what do I want to say with that? Brazil did not only have contact with Portuguese in the first place. And I will go with that through with that line a little bit later again. Brazil always had different partners. Germany and the German-speaking area always being one of them. The next milestone that you might know, or should at least know about, is the beginning of the 19th century. Everybody knows Alexander von Humboldt. Everywhere in the world, in Germany, in all Spanish-speaking countries. Here in Brazil, we also have a Humboldt Schule, yeah, but here he's less famous. Why? He didn't come to Brazil. He traveled in the Andean countries, he was in Venezuela, Mexico, etc. He wasn't here. But he was not the only natural scientist that came to Latin America at the end of the Napoleonic times, when Latin America was opened up because Spain and Portugal were not strong enough to block the entrance of foreigners, because that was behind. Yeah, the ones that came here, the ones that many came, French came, Germans came, Austrians came. The most famous one is Carl Friedrich Martius, together with another German, Johann Baptist Spix. That was 1817 to 1820. Spix was a painter, basically, and Martius was more the natural scientist. And they published their works very much so as Hans Staden before, and in parallel to Humboldt, of course, or a little earlier, actually. And that is another point where you can see it was not only the Portuguese or the Spaniards that had an interest in Brazil and that started researching about the country. The next milestone, I just mentioned, that was 1817 to 1820, that those two were there. The next milestone is 1824. That was the year when the first Germans immigrated to Brazil. So in 2 years we will have a big celebration here, 200 years of German immigration. Another fascinating story, I won't tell you too much about that, I already spoke 5 minutes about that maybe. The Empress at the time was the daughter of the Austrian Emperor, married to the Brazilian. Well, Brazil had a very complicated history, just become an independent empire, and Leopoldina, as she was called, knew very well about the qualities of German immigrants. One of them is a bit surprising: they know how to shoot. The other one, and they needed armed settlers against Paraguay at the time. The other one is they were literate, all of them knew how to read and to write. That was important, and many of them, if not all, had a profession. Unfortunately, these professions did not always fit to what they had to do afterwards, because they were sent into the jungle and they had to clear the forest and became farmers. Many died, but many survived, and this is the basis of the German colonization in Rio Grande do Sul and in Santa Catarina. There's about 1 million people that still speak German there. There may be 10 million that have a grandfather, great-grandfather, great-great-grandfather of German descent, so you can take any figure between that. That also shows the connection that Brazil has with the German-speaking area. And there the message is, well, my first message was, it's not only the Portuguese. Now the second one is, it's not only the Italians. There are more Italian immigrants to Brazil than German immigrants. But the number of the Germans was strong, and their influence is not to be underestimated. Certainly in the south, I just mentioned I was there for 2 years. I was General Consul in Porto Alegre. And I come from an absolutely peripheral area in Germany. At least my parents, yeah, they come from the Saarland, a region next to the French and the Luxembourg border. I arrived and I understood the people in the villages because they spoke the dialect of my grandparents. It was a big surprise to me. Nobody had told me about that. I was not sent there because of that. that had nothing to do with it. But it was very interesting to discover that and to discover the links that these people have with Germany. Few of them speak standard German. Few, even less, have ever been to Germany. Sometimes their picture of Germany is a very antiquated one. You start laughing sometimes, but it's always a positive one. It's for us, it's a very valuable link that we can work with. So these people came after 1824. Some of them are in the 8th generation already here. They are all Brazilians. They have no German passports. Germany introduced its citizenship law only after the unification of Germany under Bismarck. Before 1871 there was no German passport, of course. So many of them are proud descendants of German princedoms or kingdoms, and ethnic Germans, but no passport. They're always upset, those people. When you talk to them, of course they want a German passport. They say, we're Germans. No, it's not so easy. Our answer is always, what binds you together is not a common past, it's the common future. So what we have to do is not only look what happened before. Do you know dancing, or do you know how to prepare a certain cake, or so? The important thing is, how can we build a bridge towards the future? And in that, our policy in Rio Grande do Sul and Santa Catarina, where all these Germans are, is not different from our approach here in São Paulo or in Rio de Janeiro, where Jochen Hellmann has his seat, where there are much less ethnic Germans. There are some here as well. But our policy is the same. We are looking towards the future. But this milestone, 1824, and what came then is important, because it's a quite solid foundation of our partnership. Now, there are other milestones. One I want to mention quickly, the times of emigration, the Nazis. The people that came in the 19th century and during the empire of Kaiser Wilhelm, they were classical immigrants, the types of people that also went to the United States or Canada. The ones that came in the 1930s were political. Jews, of course, those that managed to get a visa. That was not easy in Brazil. Under Getúlio Vargas, he stopped Jewish immigration already in 1936. Quite brutal for those that didn't make it here. Someone walked around. I have a friend whose family came over Bolivia. But then, not to limit it to the Jewish element, social democrats came, artists came. How do you say entartete Kunst in English? The modern abstract art that the Nazis did not accept, that they thought was degenerate. Abstract artists came to here. I personally collect works from Germans that came to Brazil because I find that fascinating. The other day we had an immigration passport ceremony. We gave our passport to the descendants of a journalist of a social democratic newspaper from Offenburg in Baden. The family, he fled. The kids already didn't speak. We gave the passports to the grandchildren. The family has lost the language, but he was a German. He had a German passport. He was persecuted. He came for political reasons. So the family, including the descendants, have a right to a German passport. I mention that because some of those people are still alive. The other day we had another ceremony at my residence, a condecoration of the Bundesverdienstkreuz, Cruz do Mérito da Alemanha. The lady is 90 years old, Margot Rothstein, born in Berlin, of Jewish descent, Berlin, the mother from Berlin, the father from the Polish side of the border. When Reichskristallnacht, the night, A Noche dos Cristais happened, she was a witness, and the family was shocked. The following week they left the country, and this is how the family survived. She's here, and in spite of her high age, she goes from school to school, explaining to children, to students, what has happened, and her message is, it must never happen again. So this generation is not very old, but it left its mark on German-Brazilian relations, and I find that element of our relationship very important. It has turned into a positive one. We have a very close relationship, for example, to the Jewish community here. There is a German-founded Jewish community here in São Paulo, also one in Porto Alegre. We work together a lot. We have the same mission, because our values are pretty similar. Now the next element is an economic one. Timm will tell you more about it. You have a lot to do with economics, I was told, so I don't have to explain to anyone here what import substitution is. The economic model of Brazil and all of Latin America after the Second World War was high tariff barriers, and you don't let imports in. There he is. Ich habe nicht gesehen, wie du reingekommen bist. Grüße dich. At the same time, they invited German companies to build up factories, and this is what happened. It happened in a very, very successful way. German companies had been here already in the 19th century. Siemens is one example. The emperor, which I just mentioned, he constructed a telegraph line from Rio to Porto Alegre in the 1860s. Well, actually it was his son. In the 1860s, so, and Siemens was contracted for that. So companies had been here, but the bulk of them arrived after the 50s. Volkswagen came, I looked that up, 52 or 54? No, 53, just in the middle. They started with the Beetle and with the bus, and you still see them on the street here. But Timm will talk about that chapter later on. Just to make the point, this is another point, where you can see that the relationship to Germany played an important role for Brazil. You had that in history, you had that in immigration, you had it in political persecution, now you have it in industry, Germany is one of the largest investors here. Thomas knows better how many companies we have here. It depends on how you count them, between 800 and 1200. Statistics vary a lot in that, but German industrial presence here is massive. And more and more, not only industrial presence, also services, etc. Now the last point that I want to make in that historical line is our strategic partnership. When you take all of that together, you see we are important partners to each other, and even more so strategic partners. And in 2008, the Brazilian and the German government signed a strategic partnership agreement. That normally involves regular meetings of cabinets and it's a whole structure. Unfortunately, in the case of Brazil, the structure was never developed to the point as it is developed, for example, with the United States or Japan or India. I would not give up hope that we will come to the point where that is possible again. I wouldn't expect it this year, I have to say. But we have the basis for such a partnership for the future. So that was my short timeline. Do you give me another 5 minutes?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Another point I put here is multilateral interests. Brazil and Germany share multilateral interests. Look at Mercosur, yeah, and look at the European Union. Now, one would have to talk a lot about the origins of them, and they are very different. But both countries understand that multilateral agreements and teaming up, yeah, is a win-win situation. We can see, well, some people doubt whether Brazil accepts that. I would say yes, because what did we see well, a couple of months ago? Brazil is now trying to enter OECD. It's another point where you can see that we share multilateral interests. And in the United Nations we also do. Our values are very close. This is why Brazil voted in favor of the resolutions condemning the Russian attack on Ukraine. We were on the same side there as well. We do not always agree on the implementation of such things. For example, the embargo is complicated, yeah, but we share the same values and we share the condemnation. Now, where are the misunderstandings? That is maybe, she does not yet complain. Where are the misunderstandings? There are, of course, misunderstandings. When you look at newspapers in Germany, there are a lot of complaints about Brazilian environmental politics or climate politics, the Amazon, COVID, etc., about certain politicians. Yeah, there is quite a lot of negative reporting at the moment. Why is that? I mean, the first reason is, of course, bad news are always good news, because you want to report about the scandals and never about the good thing. That is banal, we all know that. But there's a deeper reason also, and the deeper reason is that the consensus in our societies is different. When you ask Germans what is important to you, you get totally different answers from when you ask Brazilians. The Brazilian will talk about security, about economic things, well, those two things I would see, education, those things I would see in the first place. When you ask Germans, they will tell you environment, climate, sustainability. And I'm not talking, now I'm talking to the Brazilians among you, I'm not talking about small student groups. My mother, she just died, 92, said the same thing. It's normal. There is a consensus in Germany. People are worried about climatical issues. They are worried about deforestation. And if you read in a newspaper here that the Europeans are doing that because they want to sell their own pork meat or their own cheese, yeah, that's why they don't want the Amazon to be developed. It's not so easy. Yeah, nobody wants to take away, in Germany at least, Brazilian markets. People object to the destruction of nature. So we have very different consensuses. Is there a plural like that? I don't know. In our, because it's a contradiction in terms, yeah? We have a different consensus on the German side and on the Brazilian side on what is important in our societies and for our states derived from that. And we have to see how we deal with that. We have to see how we will deal with that next year. But what we have in place, and that makes me a little bit hopeful, is a structure to deal with it. I'm sure you will talk about economic institutions, meetings, where one can talk about that. I just mentioned the partnership, the strategic partnership. There are instruments to continue with the dialogue and to come to a common understanding of things, yeah? And even seminars like this, I believe, help on a grassroots level to come to such a better understanding. So I'm happy you're here, and I think my time is over, and now I pass the word.
8 minutes.
Oh, 8 minutes, then perfect. We use them for questions and answers. Because I will not be here all the time. I have another meeting at, but a couple of minutes I can still stay.
Yes, Thomas, thank you very much, Thomas. Nice explanation, very broad. And Thomas, you are welcome. As Thomas said, he needs to go in the next minutes. It was not planned that he will be here, but he could cancel one meeting to stay here with us. But the second one he cannot cancel, so we will change our program and we will open now for questions of you, what you want to ask him about the German-Brazilian relationship. So we have some minutes, maybe 10 more, and then Thomas will talk about the business relationship, about Brazilian market, and Jochen about education and science. Who wants to ask first? You, Ivan?
I would have a question, right?
So present yourself very shortly, your name, institution.
Hi, so I'm Ivan. I'm Brazilian naturally, but I'm studying in Germany at University of Cologne right now. And actually, I identify a lot with your speech because I'm third generation of Germans here in Brazil. I'm completely Brazilian, as you said. And it never upset me that I don't have a German passport because actually, with all the support, I always had all the support that I need to go to Germany and actually develop all my studies and everything. So in this sense, my question is like, how the institutions, the official institutions are because there is a lot of bureaucracy involved in everything. So in the personal level and also in the entrepreneurship level. So my question is in this sense, how the institutions are dealing in this kind of new scene of startups, because it's easy for a big company from Brazil or from Germany to go abroad, to go overseas, either country. But for new startups, that legal barrier can kind of like completely block this partnership between countries. So are you developing some kind of strategies in this sense for the startup scene? That's basically my question. Thank you.
Quick question to Thomas. Thomas, please take off all the mask for the pictures. It's better.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. I ruined them all already. First of all, parabéns to the University of Cologne. That's where I have my PhD from. I like my time there very much. Second thing about citizenship. In former times, it was extremely difficult to get German citizenship for those that went to Germany. If you study there and out of some personal or company reason decide to stay there for longer, you don't have the problem anymore that people had 20 years ago. Yeah, because after 8 years, it's very easy to get a German passport. We are trying to convince those that live with us also to have our passport. So you share benefits and responsibilities. That is the normal thing in an immigration country. Germany is an immigration country nowadays, the way the United States or Canada are. The figures are exactly the same, yeah, only the history is different. And we are working in getting our terrible bureaucracy, you know, not only Brazil has a terrible bureaucracy, we have it too. Of course, any country does, yeah. We are working on trying to improve on that. We passed a law and it entered into force on 1st of March of the year 2000, ein Fachkräfteeinwanderungsgesetz, a terrible word in German, Lei da Imigração da Obra Qualificada. It's one word in German, and that makes it easier for people from outside to come to But that was only the first part of your comments. Now, the second part of your comments, I would say that is the perfect question for Thomas Timm. Yeah, startups are something that the consulate is not taking care of, except when you lose your passport. Oder nachher?
Do you want to answer?
No, I can answer. First of all, I took my tie on because in respect to my colleagues, but I've never been to an event where, an innovation event where everyone has a tie. It's the first time for me today. So, very interesting. I'm glad to be here. Just a short introduction, and I think we have a little bit of time later, but your question, Ivan, if in life everything is a matter of objects. If you have the intention to create a startup, or if you already are a startup, I think in Germany there's an abundance of institutions who would like to foster your interest. And this is the major hubs in Germany are Hamburg, Brazil, Munich, Cologne. I've been to Cologne 4 weeks ago, so there's it's a startup community in Cologne, only directing to your interest, and Frankfurt, of course, and Stuttgart, more or less. So there are all kinds of institutions. Startup is the name of the game. Innovation is the future. So everybody would like to have talents like you within his community to create working places and everything. In Brazil, it's the same thing. I don't know. I have my 15 minutes later, but just one statistics, if I may tell you, there are 15 unicorns in Brazil, 15, and in Germany there are 5. So Brazil is a forerunner in terms of innovation in all aspects. We have a community within reach of the German House of Innovation, and together with our Department of Innovation and Sustainability, of 5,000 startups contacts. So it's an abundance in both sides. So, and bring these together, what I say, I'm very happy to be here with you, because you came from Germany to Brazil, and unfortunately only one of you, as Marcio said, will go to Germany, but I think there's a very promising future for twofold bilateral relations. So I don't know whether I can answer you, but if you are in more detail interested, I know people in Cologne who are eager to help you to build up your company.
Okay, I would say we have time for one question more, Dana.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Dana Pitrala. I'm from Cologne as well, from Cologne University, so that's a great match actually. I'm founder of a social tech startup, Paged. We foster digital inclusion. And I would like to know your perspective if there are opportunities here in Brazil as a software company that may not be here, may not be there in Germany. So what's your evaluation, your opinion on that? Thank you very much.
The same thing happening. I pass the word to the Chamber of Commerce because they are the ones.
Digital inclusion of women. We have a special project which has been extended to other countries, funded by the GIZ. I don't know whether you are familiar with the GIZ. It's an agency related to the Ministry of Economic Development. So, to us, yes, it's a broad picture. And all the top companies, they are obliged to enter this new field. The terms ESG, I think you are familiar with, so this is part of the new future, and digital inclusion is something very promising in this aspect. So nothing else to comment. If you are interested to start a company here or to transfer your knowledge to see how your business will, the Chamber is willing to help you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Because our council has to leave in a couple of minutes, I just wanted to add one word to the speech he gave us, which was extremely interesting. Thank you very much, Thomas. I wanted just to add one remark. you spoke about the Empress Leopoldina and how
Austrian,
Austrian, yes, of course, but she was German speaking, and she had apparently a high opinion of the quality and the competences of German workforce, and so she attracted, as you explained, Germans because they were literate and good workers and so on, and much needed workforce in Brazilian of this time. My conclusion was that what she did with her husband at that time was nothing else than a Fachkräfteanwerbegesetz of our days. And I think this is the interesting point here, that history is repeating itself, but always with different roles. Nowadays, I think we are doing the other way around, and I think this is extremely interesting for the prospects of German-Brazilian cooperation.
Just to add to that, history repeats itself. Even within that, it repeated itself, because after the Germans came the Italians. After the Italians came the Japanese, the Poles in between, I forgot. Yeah, so there were ethnic immigration waves here in Brazil, just as we had them in Germany too. Yeah, think of the Italians and the refugees after the Second World War, the Turks later. Yeah, history is indeed repeating itself, and we share this pattern, Brazil and Germany.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you very much. I think it's some time for you.
Yeah, Tom Palmen.
Okay. 5 minutes?
Don't worry about me.
Okay. Then so pitch question, 1 minute, then he has 4 minutes. Who wants to do the next one? From the Brazilian participants? Questions?
Marcio.
So then, Thomas, if you don't have questions from the audience, we can start with your presentation.
Well, good morning again, and first of all, I would like to know who is behind all these masks, because I'd like to talk to somebody and know who you are. So there are a group of Germans here. Where are the Germans? So these, you have
from Germany, for the German delegation. So from the Germans are
who of you has been to Brazil before? Nobody. So it's so you are the first timers. This is perfect. And the Brazilians are
more on that side.
More on that side. Okay, very well. Thank you very much to be here. Thank you very much to come to Brazil, because there is a chemistry between the countries and the people, as you may already know. So, as Thomas said, we share the same values, we kind of have the same, very similar origins, and so this gives us the opportunity to binding for binding objectives. I can tell you one thing: don't waste one precious moment of your time being here. You see, this is something, your first time in Brazil, and this is something for the Germans. And this is something you should very much appreciate. It's a privilege. It's a privilege for me to be here to talk to the future. And this is, I'm saying, I see what you are interested in Brazil. I came to Brazil 40 years ago for the first time, and now I'm married for 40 years, you see, with a Brazilian. And this is something which might happen to you, but independently there are some statistics of Brazil which might surprise the Germans, because that's what Thomas said. The reporting on Brazil is very limited to certain aspects, and the positive agenda which Brazil has is not being reported. One other moment which Germany, one other statistic which Germany would be very interested in having, it's the renewable energy statistics of the whole matrix, of the whole matrix of the origin of energy. 85% of Brazilian energy is renewable. It's something to dream about in Germany. And Germany is not being able to fulfill its own objectives within the next foreseeable time. That means they need partners. And Brazil is the perfect partner. I just received a phone call which shows a little bit the promising future this has. Our Minister of Economy, Mr. Habeck, he will come to Brazil very soon. He already been to Qatar, despite of all political aspects. He has been to Saudi Arabia and looking for energy. And this is something Brazil could offer in the future. So he will come in March. That means that and this is something new I received, the German-Brazilian economic encounter plan for November will be transferred to March, very likely with his presence. And this means that the whole situation between Germany and Brazil changed completely 6 years ago. 6 months ago. Why? Because of the war, 4 months, because of the war in Ukraine. You have seen, you accompanied this. I'm very sad in one place that the news in Brazil, if you purchase a newspaper, Ukraine is not much news anymore. Nobody wants to know. This is too far to away and not affecting. In Germany, it's the most important matter issue at all. So anyway, the title of my short presentation should have been Economic Powerhouse. I think surprising statistics of what Brazil has and could be as the German community in Brazil, which we represent as a German Chamber of Industry and Commerce, has a participation of 10% of the industrial gross net product. This means a very significant part of the employees are employed to German companies, which have an outstanding reputation as an employer in Brazil, and they generate a very good part of the whole economy in Brazil. And this means, as a consequence, and with a concentration of around the city of São Paulo, greater São Paulo, our chamber is one of the largest chambers in the world. We have about 100 workplaces, and within the net of German chambers, which are present in 140 locations, 92, I think, 91, 92 countries, we have a very prominent role within this in this aspect. And I think to concentrate on the major aspects of what Germany differs in comparison to other countries, it always comes back to innovation, and this is also the major advantage of the companies we have here. This is the constant supply of news, innovation from their mother, and we see also that large companies which are member of our association, they have local research centers developed, which are specifically developing products which are around it. This is not very common all over the world. Usually research and development is made in the headquarters of Germany, and then depending on the product life and everything, this is transferred. I've been with BASF for 12 years in the beginning of my stay in Brazil, and I can tell you that the German industry and the German companies have an outstanding role here. But I think it should be just beginning. Latin America as a total, and Brazil was kind of forgotten for some years due to the reasons Thomas mentioned. So anyway, now I think it's a time for a comeback. We as a chamber, together with the Brazilian Export Promotion Agency, APEX, and local partners in Cologne and Hamburg and Munich, we are promoting a roadshow to reposition Brazil in the public opinion in Germany in September. This week in September we will be in Germany, because now suddenly the German public is willing to listen again to Brazilian matters. This was not the case for a long time, because this was forgotten, because this was not very elegant, and it was well seen in Germany. But now if you talk, I come from Brazil 5-6 months ago, nobody, they would turn around and go away. But now today, everybody is interested in, because the German mid-sized companies are losing markets. The Russian market will be lost for at least 20 years. My colleague in Moscow and in St. Petersburg, they are not closing down, but they are trying to survive. The company, we had some large chamber in Kiev, Ukraine, lost for a long time. So we have a challenge. And now why I'm saying this? Because the German mid-sized companies are looking for alternatives. They need to produce, to export, to maintain their company work before they go bankrupt. And maybe you have seen some, and I come also very to the end, because I would like to use the time more for question and answers. Because when we make, the time of video conferencing is over, the time of PowerPoint is over, nobody wants to have the time and patience to listen, but I would like to know what you want to know from me, because I can tell you, we have some experience we might share. Let's say we can share knowledge, not experience. You can transfer knowledge, but experience is difficult to transfer. So coming back to the opportunities of Brazil, I will just focus on energy. I don't know whether you remembered or heard that the German ministry, Mr. Habeck, he went to make the first, the initial step to implement liquid gas terminals in the city of Wilhelmshaven. And when he made the opening speech, or the first time this should go on stream, let's say by the end of the year or the beginning of next year, he said these are already preparing for the next generation of green hydrogen. And this is a discussion where Brazil enters. Brazil is one of the largest potentials in this area. Germany has a strong bet on green hydrogen as a substitute, a supply for energy alternative in the future. And now this terminal, which is being built, this is prepared to receive liquid gas by now, or it's frozen and then be liquefied. But in the future, the same terminal is able to receive green hydrogen from Brazil or wherever all over the world. So what I'm saying is that this is an opportunity Brazil has neglected by now. And this is now, they are waking up. And there was Handelsblatt, is a German economic newspaper, which showed the world map of hydrogen. And in Latin America and South America, Chile was the leading country. Chile is a country, with all due respect, which not has the same proportion as Brazil. Chile has 1/10 of this population. And 5 minutes, okay. So I will finish now. But as Brazil, as a powerhouse, the size of the country, and not to forget the largest unique selling point of Brazil, that it's the agriculture. When I start talking about, we have a regional meeting 2 weeks from now in Washington, and I will open a thing. The world needs China, but China needs Brazil to feed its own country. They don't have the sufficient food to feed its own population. I would like to ask you to ask me or us in the last remaining 3 minutes, because this is why are you here, and this is what maybe I can just answer. Fast question, fast answer. This would be my position. So please.
We will have a discussion round after the presentation of the speech of Jochen.
So
we can answer the questions.
Okay, very well. So maybe just one more information on agriculture. Brazil has and coming back to your question in terms of digital inclusion or digital innovation, etc. Brazil is the absolutely leading country worldwide in the world of smart farming. GPS-oriented plantation and this is something that they are doing for 20 years. It's nothing new. And the size of the agricultural properties here is completely different than German. Germany have a medium-sized structure. We have received visitors, German agriculture, and they are used to a certain size of their properties. I have been to, I had the opportunity some time ago with a small plane to fly for 1 hour over one property, the size of the state of Saarland. This is one owner. So you can imagine and also the potential everywhere. Now this is due to the destruction of the climate, the Amazon, etc., etc. Brazil can increase its food production by 10 times without cutting one more tree in the Amazon, because the potential of new technologies and the already existing land which is not being used is so large that it's just amazing. If you see the concentration of the population, it's all around the coast and some in the middle, but Brazil is a large unexplored country still. So if you have the opportunity, the German newcomers, not you, but all the others, to go into the countryside, then you see the real potential of Brazil. And you see what Brazil could offer to the world. It's already feeling, it's already in the statistic of the supply of certain agricultural products. It's already in most of them, it's in the leading 1, 2, 3 positions. Maybe you not know, but all the meat packing industries in the US are Brazilian owned. This is something maybe surprise you, but there's some statistic which is still, I think, worthwhile memory. And I will not talk about politics. Independently, who will win the election in October, Bolsonaro, Lula, doesn't matter. Brazil will continue to be one of the leading prospects. Unfortunately, in 1942, 80 years ago, Stefan Zweig, when he wrote the book, Brazil, Country of the Future, he passed away by suicide later on, but this was already giving the direction of what could be a Brazil. And so I will terminate, but I'm very interested in your questions. So thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you very much. Could you sit please here? For pictures is better than than an empty place, an empty seat. So I will give now the microphone to Jochen Hellmann, and we will talk to you about education and science.
Yeah, thank you, Marcio. And of course, it is now time to give you some basic facts about Brazil and its education system. Well, the problem is now that half of you are Brazilians, and of course, it is not addressed to you, dear colleagues, what I'm saying about the Brazilian education system. You are very well aware that what this is about, but maybe it is not useless to speak about Brazil and its education system from a German point of view, and maybe that even the Brazilian colleagues will accept the interest in seeing the Brazilian education system from the point of view of a stranger. Well, not such a stranger, of course, because I'm living in Brazil, but only since 2019, 3 years now, and as opposite to my colleague Thomas here, who has spent most of his life, although he was born and raised in a place where my own country is, in the northern part of Brazil, Hamburg, so we are Landsleute and understand each other very well, but I'm only here 3 years, so it might be that my view of Brazil is still fresh, and maybe that there are some aspects I don't take for granted, not yet. Maybe in 40 years this will be different. But seriously speaking, my point is that the education system, there are some facts about Brazil, let's say, stemming directly from the education system, and on the other hand, the education system is also giving its impact into the Brazilian society. Both parts are, of course, directly linked. Most important message, but this is not the latest news, I know. Brazil is an extremely unequal country. You know that, of course. But it is not for idle reasons that I stress or emphasize this point again, because it has a lot to do with the educational system. Or let's say Brazil, what is Brazil? There is not only one Brazil. I think there are at least two Brazils. There is a developed, modern, highly developed Brazil of the 21st century, and at the same time there is a Brazil, a pre-modern Brazil, which looks much like it was in the 19th century still. Of course, you will not find so much the second Brazil here in São Paulo, and at least not at the campus of the AUSPIN. But if you travel in the country, the northern, northeastern parts, you will find that there are, it is another Brazil, and you will not recognize it if you had only beforehand spent a week in São Paulo, especially in the surroundings we have here now the honor to be in. Brazil, the Brazilian colleagues know about that, but the Germans perhaps not so well, was the last country, the very last country in the Western Hemisphere to abolish slavery. And this was not until 1888. This was 3 years before my grandfather was born. So it is not very long ago. And the consul earlier spoke about the telegraphic line connecting Rio with Porto Alegre, which was built in the 1860s, so 25 years before slavery was abolished in Brazil. In 1888, when finally it was done with, in Rio de Janeiro, already tramways, streetcars, electric streetcars were traveling around. And I think this shows, imagine the 1880s in Rio de Janeiro, at the same time electric streetcars, not very much different from those bondis which still nowadays you can use if you are a tourist in Rio. Not much different, but imagine in 1880s at the same time slaves in the street of Rio de Janeiro. I just tell this to show the simultaneity of modernity and pre-modernity in a country not so long ago, not even 150 years ago. Another point I would like to emphasize to understand Brazil better from the for our German colleagues. It was unlike Spanish America, where the Spanish, the colonial power, established universities very early, certainly in order to form priests and magistrates. Portugal very long insisted on keeping higher education in its own country, in Portugal. They sent over the Portuguese civil servants in charge of to administer the colony, and those who had degrees, higher education degrees, owned them from the Universidade de Coimbra, but here in Brazil, nothing. So it was only much later, to be exact, in 1912, when the first university in Brazil was founded. Just in comparison, the first university in the Spanish Americas was founded in 1551. It was San Marcos in Lima. So you can see that there was a certain, to put it mildly, a certain delay. And perhaps we are dealing with this delay until today. But Brazil caught up very quickly, I must say, on the other hand. In 1900, illiteracy rate was still like 65%. And if I say in 1900, you must remember what I said, that many Brazilians at that time had been children of slaves or had been slaves themselves only 12 years ago. And illiteracy rate was 65% of the 2/3 of the population. Yeah, today the rate is 7%. It's progress, isn't it? Well, about universities. Nowadays we have 8 million students in Brazil, which is a figure, impressive figure, I think. Approximately a quarter of them are studying in public institutions of higher education. So 3/4 are studying in private universities, or university, perhaps, let's say, in institutions of higher education of all kinds. What I would like to underline is a paradox, you can see it as a paradox, that most of the people who make it into the state institutions, which are extremely coveted, demanded for, because they don't charge fees, and at the same time they have an extremely high academic standard, so they don't cost anything and they are academically preferable. So it's logical that young Brazilians prefer to study in state universities and not in the private sector. But these people who make it into the coveted institutions of the state, at the same time have in their large majority, when they were children, studied in private schools. And, and vice versa. The students who have been in state schools, in the public schools, where no schools fees are charged, they normally don't make it to the USP, where we are here, and similar institutions. Yeah, there are of course exceptions, and there are grant programs and so on. I don't say that it is always that case, but this is the rule. So the parents who can afford to pay school fees for their kids, they go later to university for nothing and have a good degree. And as opposite to these families, those who cannot afford to pay school fees have to rely on private institutions, and to pay for those they have to work a lot on the side and face, of course, obstacles to get the degree, because they have to work, everything is difficult. And the degrees are perhaps even a little bit less worth in the labor market afterwards. The scientific level, especially of public universities, where you are here, is impressive. Absolutely impressive, especially if you take into account that austerity measures have prevailed for many years now. And this is partly because of the economic crisis and partly because education, how to put it without going into politics, because education was perhaps not a priority of the current government. But the professors in public universities, like we are here, are excellently trained. Many of them have earned their degrees and their doctoral doctorates abroad, and many of them in Germany, which makes me proud, of course, because my organization, the DAAD, has a word to say in this and is a little bit responsible for a part of these doctorates earned in Germany. Before I finish, some words about the pandemic. The pandemic has, as you can imagine, caused great damage. That's for certain. In many universities, classroom teaching has only recently resumed these days. And it took a certain time until distance learning started to work really after the crisis began. It was in March 2020, and a couple of months later only the university started to really get accustomed to distance learning. But the students, again, students from the middle class and from the upper class, quickly got used to distance learning, and I'm afraid to say that many students from the poorer families were often not prepared to distance learning, materially, technically, and also from a pedagogical point of view. As a result, inequality, as I mentioned before, increased as a result of the pandemic. It is not true that what is said sometimes, that everyone is equal before the virus. Some are always more equal, no? Finally, I would like, just to finish, to encourage you, all of you, to recognize German-Brazilian cooperation as a big and a great opportunity. The research performance of German universities and non-university institutions, I must not emphasize, it's well known, but I ask myself, do people in Germany really know that there is a vibrant research landscape here in Brazil? I'm wondering. In a country with such an immense, with such, let's say, natural resources, a market of how many? 220 million people. And these people are mostly very friendly and eager to start cooperation with Germany or other countries in Europe or in the world. And these people, I should say, according to my own observation, are very used to looking for creative solutions to problems, because there's no lack of problems here in Brazil, yeah? And people are used to find solutions to these problems. And this is there not, I ask you, a talent that we Germans sometimes lack? I think this means, what I want, my message is, that a research cooperation between Brazilian and German partners is complementary, because skills from different kinds are brought together. And this makes me sure that this kind of research cooperation, and later on, of course, to develop market products for the market, is absolutely promising. I hope, to finish, that this week here will enable Brazilian and Germans, talents from both countries, to get to know each other and to experience the benefits of international cooperation firsthand. I thank you very much.
I just would like to opportunity to invite the Brazilian youngsters to be part of a scholarship which is called the Bundeskanzlerstipendium. The scholarship financed by the German Ministry of Foreign Relations. And this is something, I have the privilege to be on the board of the committee of selection. This is a scholarship which will be decided, the inscription, the deadline is 15th of October. We will start promoting this. 10 Brazilians are annually chosen to spend 1 year in Germany to realize their dream project. And they receive a funding of 2,000 to 3,000 euros per month. and have a very privileged possibility to be part of this, what Jochen Hellmann just mentioned to Brazil. This is something I think it's called the Bundeskanzlerstipendium, and I would suggest the Brazilians who are interested in, and we just selected the last team of 10 Brazilians. There were 5 startups we will select which has experience in this area. Just wanted to make this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. Bundeskanzlerstipendium, bolsa do chanceler, okay, for the Brazilian. So we can open now for questions. Who want to ask first about business, economy, science, education, politics?
Let not the hunger for the lunch make you shy. You should ask now.
You first. You was.
Hello, my name is Lydia. I am an agriculture student at USP, and our startup is really focused on sustainability and health, on functional foods. And when you were saying that Germans are really interested in environment, climate, it caught my attention because we want to take advantage of our Brazilian biodiversity, the biodiversity of our fruits and nutritional value that they have. And I wanted to ask, how are the prospects of us expanding for German or our startup or something like this?
I understand you have a company already, or you're looking for funding, or you have an idea of using Brazilian natural resources or products or in the area of sustainable production. This is what I understand.
Yeah.
So what is the major idea? Would you need a contact where you could receive some more interest from Germany, or you need funding to enhance your studies, or what are you looking for exactly?
It's more of a general idea. Currently we are in the prototyping phase. We're going to the incubator here in the university, but we want to produce functional ice cream based on Brazilian superfoods. And because Germans are interested more in environmental and sustainability, I think that it might have caught the attention of them. Has a potential of market. So I wanted to ask how is the prospects and how they view this kind of business and so on.
Well, first of all, there are all kinds of, usually to learn how this would be a promising future for you, you should maybe part of a fair, a trade fair. In the trade fairs, there are companies we already knew, so they are interested, or Brazilian companies are interested. Large Brazilian producers are looking for startups and these kind of, you say, functional properties for ice cream. This is your basic one. But there are trade fairs in Brazil, FISPAL, and there are trade fairs in Germany, Anuga and Cial in Paris. So I've been to these fairs, and you can you find out that the economic, let's say the sustainable part of the product is increasing rapidly. Not only plant protein products and all these, but also, so I would suggest that you investigate these possibilities, participating in trade fair. There will be FISPAL, I think in June, now, sometime from now. And I'm certain that the large Brazilian food producing processing companies, they are interested in these kind of findings. So you have to make a bridge. So this is always what in Brazil, as you say, that's an excellent research community, but they are isolated from the market. So you have to bridge over. You have to find out who of these companies, and they are all present here, the large food processing and processors who might be interested, but you should offer something, not maybe in the prototype status, but in the already advanced marketing prospect stage.
Thank you.
Hello. Hello, myself is Theuer and I'm from University of Stuttgart.
So my question is to Dr.
Hellmann. So regarding we have the similar problem, privileged people going to private education initially in the primary sections, and then they are going to public universities. And then to me this creates more difference between the poor and rich. So how this can be solved? Thank you.
Certainly, the way it is not easy to find a solution to such a problem. And I think that in countries with the same problems, the history of hundreds of years of education policy makes the situation such as it is. And it will demand a certain time to find solutions. It is not possible to find a magic to find a solution from in a couple of months or years. But I think the key solution should be on both sides of the education system. In the school system, in elementary school, the state has to improve the quality of education so that those who are graduating in the normal state school system are not underprivileged anymore. There should be done more to train teachers in elementary schools and secondary schools. This would be one way to find solutions. On the other hand, even in the higher education, there can be done something, and I think Brazil is doing a lot here. They, by grant stipend systems, in most places, in most state universities in Brazil, there are schemes of promoting candidates coming from the state school system, and if they have a certain bonus, if they have the same competences like the other candidates coming from the private schools, then they are privileged in the sense they get a bonus and points and have more chances, so that the percentage of those who are coming from the public schools, the state schools, is increasing. So I think that the public in Brazil is absolutely aware of the problem. This is nothing new, but it will take some time. But I think if Brazil is attacking the problem from both sides, then we will see here some improvement in the future.
Next question. One question. Are you Sebastian?
Yes.
So welcome. So our team is complete now from Germany.
Thank you. First, I'm Rafael Zini, I'm from Timm, and my question is for Thomas. I work with digital inclusion, just like Dana, but my case is the contrary. She wants to go here to Brazil, and you said that you have some contacts to meet people from Germany and then to raise awareness about my own issue, because we have an MVP already validated. So there are people that are using, deaf people that are using our Timm, and we are ready to launch it on the Play Store in the next month. And right now, one thing that we are thinking is to, if there is possibility to show this cell-phone application to German and bring this digital inclusion that we are starting here in Brazil to the Germany. And you said that there are some people that we could contact. So that's the question is, do you know these contacts, who we have to talk?
First of all, I would talk to your neighbor, because you found your company together. You work in Germany and she works in Brazil together. So anyway, but our Brazilian responsible, our head of our department for innovation and technology is called Bruno Wasserpilon. So maybe this is the first step you should, before you send out letters to Germany, you should talk to him, because he has a very good overview what the possibilities would be. But digital inclusion, I would say, to come to Brazil, maybe I find it easier for a German to have success in Brazil. So for you, study. You should be informing yourself and prepared. So she is here, so that means that you may have to make an exploratory visit to Germany to visit and offer your services to interested parties. So, but I can give you the contact of our responsible, Bruno. I don't know who is coming to the chamber afterwards, Marcio.
Bruno will come on Wednesday to present the Startups Connected program.
No, I mean now. Don't we have a moment now?
Oh no, the group will come in the afternoon.
So in the afternoon. If you're going there in the afternoon, maybe if Bruno is there, then I will make a contact.
I don't know if Bruno or Fernando, they will.
Somebody from the department.
Be there as well.
Sustainability. Okay.
And we will show the co-working place and the department and so on.
At what time you will be arriving in the chamber?
3:30 we should start with the program there.
2:30.
So after 2, so the transfer is scheduled for 1:30.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think if the traffic is good, so 2 to 10 we are there.
Very good.
Next question. Ivan? Yeah. Okay. We have the experience that yesterday that Ivan likes to speak very much. That's good, not too bad.
I have problems with that, sorry for that. I have a question for both panelists, so for both of you. And that's a question that I guess if most of the people that are here did not face yet, they will definitely face, because I faced that many times in Germany, and even, especially in Germany. So, without going into the merit of the specific politics here in Brazil, every time that I say that I'm from Brazil, and they say, wow, the idea is kind of like viable, blah, 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 blah. But Brazil, and all this political instability there, how do you see that? So I would like to ask you a piece of advice. How do you see that conducting business here and research here as well? Because that question always pops up. Brazil is kind of a complicated country politically speaking. So not going into the merit of one party or other, how should I answer to that question? That's always common. Thank you.
How do you answer? It's very easy. You have to separate politics, economy, and research. If somebody asks you, well, there's a president who doesn't have the finest manners, if there's politicians who... This has nothing to do with your position. So if you are a researcher, you say there's an excellent research community, and this will be much more bigger than everything else. Politics, and don't mix up the issues. And economy, if you show the market of possibilities, nobody wants to know who is the president, you see. The companies are interested in making money and progressing and having market share and all these things to enter the market. This is where the chamber stands for. And this is where we have it. I can tell you, we have 800 companies associated with the chamber in São Paulo, 1,700 all over Brazil with our sister chambers in Porto Alegre and Rio de Janeiro. The largest part, 80–90% of the companies are doing well, almost as in 2019, not yet, but it's the information is coming, they are doing very well. So I would, if you have to answer wherever you are, you come from Brazil, political different, I have nothing to do with it. If you want to make research, that's the right place to go. If you want to make money, it's the right place to go. So that's the way I would separate the issues.
Yes, I do agree absolutely with Thomas. For the part of education, research in universities, I should even explain, and I do so all the time, because of course from Germany they ask me all the time, journalists and also professors from universities and so on, is it possible in the moment to come to Brazil? Is it not a fascist country and so on? I say, like Thomas, the political situation is perhaps difficult, and I do not deny the problems. And why should I? To say that Brazil is complicated, yes, it is, but every country in the world is complicated. I have traveled a lot in my life and in my professional lifetime, and I can say what I never have to have been to is an uncomplicated country. So problems are of course everywhere, and if a Japanese company or student comes to Germany, he or she will find it a complicated country. And this is in all directions like this. So international exchange is always let's say, connected to hurdles, to obstacles we have to overcome. But the problems in the same time also the advantage, because this makes us to learn something, to see things from a different angle, and to do research with international partners opens your eyes for different angles and points of view. And this will be, of course, the case if some of a German company or a German research group will come to Brazil. It will not be easy, like in the other way around. But it is, I think we should really, all of us, even those who are living in Brazil, and of course we are suffering from certain circumstances, but this will be always the case. And I think we should say that internationalization is complicate things and make them at the same time better. If you do not like problems, then better do not do research. Then stick to technology from the 18th century. There you don't have a problem. So I think that this is what we should answer to such kind of questions, and we are absolutely used to answer them.
Maybe you take this as an opportunity. If somebody, because 6 months ago nobody wanted to know what you are thinking, because Brazil was always categorized as one stereotype. Now if somebody asks you, why don't you tell me, did you know that São Paulo is the vaccination capital of the world? 85% are vaccinated, so twice. And there is no resistance in Brazil at all to vaccinate, or very few. So this is something different, which is not common all over the world. So I would say, as you said, it's exciting to solve problems. We have a lot of problems here. What we used to say is that Brazil is not a market for amateurs, it's for professionals. This is, if you want to make money, you're at the right place, but you have to be a pro.
One question more, as we are close to our hour for lunch.
No, she said 15 minutes, so this is, we have 10 more minutes.
Yes, 15 minutes.
Okay. But in 15 minutes we should go for lunch.
Okay, so thank you. We've just heard that business here is for pros, and actually my question is regarding business here. Are there some kind of obstacles German startups, German companies have when doing business here in Brazil? Are there any bureaucracy things we have to think of? Could you say something about that?
You have all kinds of problems. You have all kinds of, the tax system is the most complicated in the world. You see, but you have to prepare your market entrance very, very carefully. You should have also assistance in consulting areas in all aspects. And you have the opportunity to be guided by the chamber or by German institutions to help you overcome these steps. You see, there are all kinds of obstacles. You cannot imagine how many obstacles. But it's the end of the day, you have very much more freedom in Brazil to do what you want. That's the summary of my experience. In Germany, everything is regular. You have regular laws and decrees and for everything. But in Brazil, you have to prepare yourself to not to failure, to lead to failure. That's a large problem. You may know the statistics, and 90% of the startups that die in the first year because they don't have success. Maybe they do not prepare. There's in the US there are German-funded projects like German Accelerator in Boston or in New York or in San Francisco. So they incentivize companies like you to prepare them to talk to the business community, to consultants, to know what are the obstacles in order not to fail. Not to fail.
Next one.
Hello, I'm Zina from the German Cancer Research Center, and my question is a bit regarding the part before we can build a startup. So how is Brazil coping with the fact that there's often a gap between the science and the commercialization in a really early stage, meaning clinical trials and healthcare, whatever? How is this funded? How can be the gap closed between, commercialization and science? You have an idea, you have a good compound, for example, but you can't commercialize it because you do not have the money to fund clinical trials or whatever.
The only idea I would have is to convince companies which in this area to fund you, because the public sector is always lacking money, that's normal, but the companies may be interested or not. But this is also the gap between, in Brazil it's completely different. The success of research, of the researcher and the personal career of researchers does not depend on private funding of companies. We made a study some years ago, and this shows very clearly that there's an excellence research community, but their funding does not depend on to convince companies to give them money to fund their studies. So this I would see as if you have a good project, if you have something promising, then you should go to companies in this area, pharmaceutical companies or whatever, and try to convince them that they give you the money. And I'm very sure that it's because a large part of the startups in our radar, they are funded by companies, the large companies. They don't have they have a separate startup funding budget, and they have their department because they cannot cope with all the problems they have. But if they find out certain startups which might fit in their portfolio, then they give you the money. And I would suggest this sort of try to find out which company could be interested in your studies. This is, I think, the best guess for me, because the public funding is limited.
Yes, this is a good point. It will be a point of other parts of our program. So today in the afternoon we will have talks to Braskem, SAP, Faber-Castell and Natura, for example, and they will talk about open innovation, how they work with startups. On Wednesday, Bruno will present the Startups Connected program as well. The Bayer and the German hospital Oswaldo Cruz will take part. We will discuss about the challenges of them. Yesterday we will have the presentation about the innovation ecosystem with presentation of Embrapi, Embrapa, Fiocruz and so on. And Thursday is the day of the funding programs. We will have the Pierre Dazzani and other speakers here as well. Søren has a question, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask what would you say to someone who is like between, what would you say to someone who wants to, you have a nice startup idea and you're from Brazil or you're from Germany, and you can choose between going to India, to Brazil, or to the United States. What would you say is the most appealing points for going to Brazil? Your experience.
Going to Brazil?
Going to Brazil, yeah, we are here for promoting Brazil, aren't we?
Not only because I like it here in Brazil, so I have been treated very well for 40 years, you see. But Brazil is a company who welcomes visitors. and maybe the regulatory area is in favor of this kind of research innovation community. But you have to find out your way. There's no recipe. You have to choose India, United States, or what. If you want to have a sympathy approach, then you're in the right place in Brazil, of course. But I think the opportunities are given here. And I'm interested in what Marcio said, that these kind of not decided youngsters, maybe if you go through a kind of program like this and you talk to executives from the companies you mentioned, then you convince yourself that this Brazil has a lot to offer.
I should like to add an aspect to what Thomas said. I of course asked the same questions, but not according to the question of the startup, but about research cooperation partners. And if somebody asks me, where do you think should I find my research partners or my partners for mobility programs, exchange programs, should it be India, United States or Brazil? I say, of course, Brazil, yeah, because it's my role to say it, but I have an argument. I say, normally in this case, well, of course, India and the United States are extremely interesting countries, and it is absolutely a good idea to go there, to cooperate with these countries. But Brazil has an advantage. It is just far away from us and culturally, and to be interesting, to make that PhD students can learn something what they didn't know at home, but it is not as far away that they are completely lost in translation. Yeah, Brazil is a country near enough to feel at home and far enough to learn something. And I think this is just the right distance we need for PhD students or for students who want to learn something new, and it is just the Goldilocks distance, yeah, what we need.
Yes, and just summarizing, Brazil receives foreigners very well. You're welcome here. There are no racists, no approaches, nothing for a gringo. For gringo or for foreigners. Foreigners, you are very well treated from the sympathy of the people of Brazil. This is, I can testify.
Thank you. I think
like Hans Staden, who was the first gringo, and he was spared from being eaten. Huh? You see that?
Yeah,